All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army Match Week 26. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Premier League, where we'll talk about Marmoush's world, or at least his real debut. Ange Ball coming good, maybe, and Moyes' magic. Halftime will be related to stamping out diving in the beautiful game. Round the world, USL making moves, and Champions League preview, and then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets. And everyone's favorite segment, of course, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties who we got here with us this week. Almost a full house. We do have a party question, so this is going to go around to the group. Start with you, Tyler. You've had some strong opinions on this in previous seasons. So this year, 2025, year of our Lord, Greg Berhalter is taking over the Chicago Fire. Are they? What's the ceiling and floor for this team this season?
Ceiling 5th place, floor 13th.
That's big, but I understand why. We don't even really know what this team is going to look like.
I've seen the show too many times before. So.
That's fair. Tommy, are they a playoff team?
Yeah, I would like to think so.
Okay.
I think I'm less about the positions and more that they'll win a playoff round. That's my ceiling.
Okay, I like that. We're moving in the right direction.
Wild card or a best of 3?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would go with wild card.
Okay, that's not a real game.
But hey, Atlanta United did it this year, so.
And we're moving in the right direction, Tyler. We're coming from a low bar here.
Sure.
Mikey, thoughts on Chicago Fire and Greg Berhalter?
Tommy.
All right. Sounds like we got two. I'm with you guys. I think we win a playoff game this year. Of course, I'm also an eternal optimist. So take that with a grain of salt.
Tommy didn't even answer the question. Don't say like we got 2 people who are like glass half full. Like I said, they could potentially finish 5th. I feel like that you asked me what their ceiling was.
That's true. Oh, right. Do you think they'll win a playoff game?
No, but I think they could finish 5th though.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We will move on. Now, before we move to the Premier League, though, we got to give a quick shout out to our peoples over at Kick It, the all-in-one soccer, tennis, everything. Tyler, hit us with the quick and dirty on Kick It.
So Kick It, as Sam mentioned, soccer, tennis, take it with you on the go. Play it in a park, play it in your driveway, play it in the garage, play it on the beach. And the ball's designed so that it's easy to use. Your touch is going to feel silky smooth, sort of like Connor Bradley over on the right-hand side of the Liverpool defense. And anybody can play it. Your friend Joe's got 2 left feet. Your buddy Callum, who's got no feet. Anybody can play. And it's a good way to, have a beer, have one in the hand while you're playing a couple rounds of soccer tennis, but it's a beautiful thing. Use the code SAM25 on kickit.net, SAM25, and you will get yourself a nice little discount on the basic soccer tennis set, and we are very thankful for our partners, Kick It.
There we go. Shout out Kick It. Premier League time. We got some interesting results from the week, just some that stand out. City taking it to Newcastle, 4-0. Spurs not taking it to, but outlasting United, Manchester variety, 1-0. Fulham in a very high-quality game. Fulham came out the winners 2-1 over Nottingham Forest. Brighton put a spanking on Chelsea on Friday. And another one, Palace losing to Everton, where Mr. Moyes doing what Mr. Moyes always does with Everton. Now, Mikey, where do you want to start? Which result stood out to you as most intriguing and why?
For me, it's City, Newcastle. I think that was probably the most telling. A lot of people that are really familiar with the sport that I like to read have been quick to point out City's return to form ahead of this weekend's Liverpool match. That to me, this weekend building into that is the most exciting thing. And I would love to know from Tyler what he thought about that City performance and whether he thinks 3 points or 1 point. Like, would you take a point from City next weekend?
No, I wouldn't take a point from City next week.
You're not scared at all about that.
What do I look like? What do I look like? United? Like, I mean, come on. Like, I'm desperate for points over here. No, I wouldn't sign the dotted line. Absolutely not. I'd rather take. I mean, listen. I was having this conversation with Tony Miola on Sirius XM earlier today. Like, take that game in a bottle and show it to a Manchester City fan who wasn't allowed to watch their team for the entirety of the season, and they're like, "Oh, everything's fine. This Manchester City is normal. Like, this is just a weekend game in the middle of a two-legged Champions League week." And that's not the case, though. Like, this was a one-off. Maybe they blew their load a little bit early. Ghosts at the Bernabeu, in particular, are probably going to haunt them. Like, a loss at Real Madrid and getting knocked out of this preliminary knockout phase of Champions League, and maybe they concede a couple late goals at the Bernabeu, and they're right back to square one. So no, this one result from Manchester City does not put a Erling Haaland sized Band-Aid on what's been just a host of issues for this team. No.
That's fair. It is interesting because we can talk about the Liverpool City game, and we will, but City has a big one in the midweek that they actually have to focus on, which is something that you can actually probably benefit from, perhaps anyway, Tyler, when that game comes around. Anything else on Newcastle getting spanked by City?
Yeah,
I feel like
not interested with that game at all because Newcastle doesn't have it.
I was going to say, we've talked a lot about Newcastle games, but we always talk about the team that they're playing against. We don't really talk much about Newcastle. Are you just not? Are people just not?
They're not a very rotated side, and
Yeah.
they're very tired.
I mean, they've lost 3 out of their last 5 in the Premier League, but they've also stayed alive in they stay alive in Moose Cup, and they stay alive in FA Cup. And like Mikey said, they don't rotate a ton. They don't have the wealth that Liverpool has, or even Arsenal has to a certain extent when they're healthy, to be able to rotate these guys and still get a win. And I still think Eddie Howe is a good coach. I still think that Isak is probably the second best striker in Europe right now, behind Dembele, or striker, forward player, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's just a matter of a couple of key pieces missing. And when you get jumped on in 14 minutes by City, the game's over. And they've been dealing with a lot recently. And I don't know about you, but like if I'm at the Etihad and City scores 3 goals on me before the 35-minute mark, I'm probably checked out. Like get me home, get me into an ice bath.
Fair enough. Anything to add, Tommy?
I think Marmoush showed exactly what his money was worth. He scores 3 different types of goals, and to your point, Tyler, like I think you see some teams start to like copy what they do against City, against Arsenal, or what they do against Arsenal against City, and I think Liverpool is a classic case of just getting burned for that, in what worked so well against Arsenal for the first goal, and then like when the first goal goes in like that, that's pretty deflating. One ball over the top, 10, 15 minutes in. You're so concerned about Haaland because they've done this the last 3 or 4 games. And they're like, oh, nope, we'll just play right over top of Haaland instead to someone to run onto it. And then Marmoush caught fire. But yeah, he was
Can you add to
fun to
that,
watch.
Tommy? You've been really on this lately, the change in approach from City.
Yeah, so I think if anyone watches basketball, it's like what I would consider the same as like a Jokic big man hub, where you spread the team out. Teams are going more man to man, especially Newcastle. That's what everyone said they did really well against Arsenal, is they went man to man, and one of their center backs would follow. Let's say against Arsenal was Rice, and that's how they scored with Raya's giveaway to Rice. But then on the flip side, if you do that against City, you have Haaland, who attracts so much attention, and because he attracts so much attention with direct play, you have like off the ball cutters like Foden or Marmoush that either run behind the big man or in front of him for little layoffs. And it's the same thing when like Jokic just stands there and tosses the ball in any direction he wants. And you're right at the rim or you're right at the goal. So I think they're going to start doing that more with the quality they have. And they just did like a Huddle or StatsBomb just did an article about like how teams play direct. And the better the team is, the more they play direct on a diagonal to someone who's able to drive or carry. Think like Van Dijk or Alexander-Arnold playing Salah in behind. And then the teams that are not as good tend to play direct just up the middle of the field because they don't really have ideas. Think Pickford slapping the ball 50 times to no one. Whereas I think Ederson and Haaland are the exception to that rule, and it becomes really, really hard to stop that.
And Tommy, to that point, I mean, I think I forget exactly who I was talking to. It might have been John Herdman last year of Toronto, or maybe even Pat Noonan, but talking about the balls in behind advanced stat, and literally like if you end up winning that battle over the course of 90 minutes, and I can imagine that the direction of the ball probably plays a factor into this, but I think like if you end up winning that stat, you end up winning the game like 75 to 80% of the time. Granted, that's an MLS, but I would have to imagine that there's got to be some translation into Premier League too. And not for nothing, I think that the same level of deflation that you're talking about with regard to, having good possession, being focused on one thing, and you know, perhaps getting a couple of things done early, because I don't think Newcastle were like piss poor for the first 15, 20 minutes of the game. I just think that like the game was naturally unfolding. But Chelsea and Brighton was the same way. I mean, if I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm pulling my hair out because it was one big ball over the top to Matoma and the touch of the year. And it's deflating. I mean, you're just like, we've been in control of this entire game, and it's just one play in the other direction. And in particular for teams that are struggling, like Chelsea, like Newcastle. So I get it. And
How
Yeah.
mad is Mitch that he missed the basketball week, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll be back. He'll get his in later. So City, you actually sort of talked about Brighton, Chelsea right there. So we'll sort of transition. Is Maresca on the hot seat at this point? Is the team just no?
No. I would say, I mean, Amarim is more on the hot seat than Maresca is.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
That's the most Tommy will ever tell you that he wants a guy gone. Is when he says that.
Agreed.
We've got Tommy making very firm, explicit takes and talking basketball today. What is the world coming to?
We're dumping it into him right now. He's joking.
Now, the thing about Amarim is like that just felt like a game where Spurs kind of started to get healthy, whereas United just went the other way and they had no midfielders. Like I know that I'm just in a it's habitual at this point, me like using injuries as an excuse for everything. But it just felt like I don't know. I mean, Amarim, if he's really on the hot seat already, that's to me is insane. That you can't even give a summer window.
Is it insane though? Is it insane for somebody who's in charge of Manchester United who, let's just say for shits and giggles, like they dropped 2 places in the table in between now and the end of the season? You think somebody should keep their job for doing that? I think that there's something to be said for managers. Mikel Arteta, how easy would it have been for Arsenal to fold and either lose or draw that game? Like, part of your job as a manager is not just to implement your philosophies until you're blue in the face and defend yourself at every single press conference known to mankind. Your job is to fucking win games and to earn points. And if you're not doing that, you should get fired, particularly with the players that he has at his disposal, whether they're appropriate for his system or not. Like, win fucking games. You're Manchester United. You should not be like on the cusp of a relegation battle. That's not you think that you should just get a window because you deserve every single toy in the bag to be able to play with to fit your style. He's a barely 40-year-old manager who's had success at one club. Why does he deserve the opportunity to have every single piece of Manchester United's arsenal at his disposal in a world of PFR and the whole thing?
Well, that's fair, but then why hire him in the first place if you don't think he has, if you don't think he has the resume or the chops to really sort of take the job and succeed, and you're willing to get rid of him that fast? That sounds to me like the decision-making people up top are the ones who need to, maybe lose their job.
Well, there are conspiracy theorists who think that he's only in this so that he can get a payout eventually, and that he'll be forgiven for his Manchester United sins, and he just simply took the job because he knows that he'll be able to sit on a beach somewhere in Ibiza and drink sangria until the next club comes calling.
I mean, it is a big golden parachute. Oh, I will say that.
I think this is the people above him. It's their fault.
Yeah,
but do you think? But I mean, Tommy, you think that
there's 2 things. I think it's their fault, not in hiring him, but in the conditions they created. But also, like, your job is to win games, right? What's the best way to win games? Get the most out of your players. He's this like I'm not adapting my style thing. to the players I have, I think is BS. Like you
It's a
have
bit of
to
a
get
trend these days.
you have
tired.
to like
Tired.
your general idea of like how you play the game. Yeah, that shouldn't change. But like if let's take Arsenal for example, or Spurs for example. If you are completely depleted of strikers or center backs, you should probably change the way you're going to play a little bit, just to give you the best chance to win. But like the general idea shouldn't change.
All right. Ange, we won a home game for the first time in I don't know how many months it's been. I think 3. Maybe he is changing, or maybe he's just getting guys healthy. Kind of tough. Maybe both. Maybe both. All right. Other games: Fulham Forest, Palace Everton.
Fulham were all over them.
Fulham looked great.
They did.
Fulham looked really good.
They did. Adam Traore, if he could finish, he would be.
He'd still be at Barcelona.
He would be. Yes, exactly. He would be a real problem. But yeah, Fulham is just a really good team. That was my takeaway from that game.
Are Forest cooked?
I don't know. I feel like that's the narrative anytime they lose a game, but like 2-1 at Fulham, that's a tough game. That's just a tough game.
I agree. I just posed the question, man.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Their next 3 games in Prem are Newcastle away, Arsenal home, City home.
Yeah.
How many points?
If you can get through those with 10 games left and you're still in the Champions League spot, I don't think they're cooked. But I mean,
to be fair, that stretch of games is probably as not as sharp or not as dangerous as it's ever going to be in the Premier League.
But it plays into their hands.
Yeah.
Like they don't open themselves up, and so like what we just talked about with City and Newcastle with their 2 forwards, they probably won't even be exposed to that because they just sit in their own half, and then Arsenal might put in a world record of crosses without connecting one if they look anything like they did against Leicester on the weekend.
Fair. I mean, the thing about Nottingham Forest is like there was that one game, the Bournemouth game, 5-0 was like, oh wow, maybe this team is cooked or just overrated. But like they've bounced back from that with the 7-0, and this 2-1 is obviously not a bad loss by any stretch of the imagination. So I still think Nottingham Forest is legit, and they're just a hard team to play against. Whereas Fulham just made it happen. Do we want to give David Moyes a little? Do you want to cup his balls just a little bit?
Absolutely. Since the Villa game, he has been untouchable. It's incredible.
Are we surprised though? Like with him as a whole and back at Everton, like this is what he does. When you talk about like getting the most out of your players to win games, I think he is one of the best in Premier League history at that.
Is this going to come full circle and he'll step away in like 9 months and replace Ruben Amorim at Manchester United?
The time is a flat circle.
Yes.
Ultimate outcome. I don't think so, but you never know.
But
I mean, Everton right now is ahead of Manchester United.
They are cooking, absolutely cooking right now.
Their only loss recently was they lost to Bournemouth, but obviously that's not a bad loss. I'm looking back. So they lost to Villa in January. I mean,
didn't they beat Newcastle too?
Let's see. They beat Leicester. They beat Brighton. I don't know when Newcastle was.
Maybe it wasn't Newcastle. It was another decent team. But
you know
anyway.
who's also on the hot seat a bit?
Tottenham.
West Ham.
Yeah,
Since Potter took over, there hasn't really been much of a new manager bounce there. 1-6.
They've won 1-6. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was their first game, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember that he came in, and I think it was against Fulham, and
that was the most fluky 3-2 win I've ever seen. There were 2 ridiculously bad giveaways from Fulham in their own half. Like I think Andres Pereira received the ball and blindly hit it to the other center back facing his own goal, and it went right to a forward. And then Leno did the same thing, and they scored 2 goals from it.
I just looked at like the shots and the XG and everything. Yeah, Fulham
They
were
did.
all
I mean, they beat.
over them.
Yeah, they beat Fulham. But I will say that West Ham people that I talk to, it's like the same sentiment that like Manchester United fans had. I would say like 2 months ago about Ruben Amorim, where it's like, yeah, we're not winning games, but like you can see we're starting to play better football than we did, under Lopetegui and stuff like that. And then like the smart West Ham fans are like, you're a fucking idiot. No, we're not. Like that doesn't exist. Like you just say that when you bring in a coach that's had a successful stop somewhere. And that's why I feel like United fans are saying the same thing, and West Ham fans are unfortunately following. Is Graham Potter a fraud? Was
he a system coach?
Yeah,
I've always thought that.
Well, we didn't, and that's the thing. We didn't know it at the time. Now you look at it.
Right.
Did you?
Tuxedos seem a little fucked up now.
Oh, let's see. Any other games worth calling out here?
We got to talk about Marino.
Okay. Mikey Marino, the man of the hour.
and Winery, but I think, speaking of David Moyes, are we seeing the return of I think this year as a whole, you've seen a return of like more classic Barclays Premier League, and you've seen social media trends on it. Is Fellaini about to make a comeback?
Is he still playing in China?
Well,
no, he's playing for Arsenal right now. He's number 23 for Arsenal.
I couldn't be happier. It was one of the most enjoyable final 30 minutes of a match I've watched my entire life.
And like they were good goals too.
And Tyler, to your point about a manager's job is to get a fucking result. Like Arteta's press conference afterwards and the press conference beforehand, I think Tommy can relate to this. He was very calm. He was not blaming. He was not on his recruiting team. He was not on the, we needed this. We didn't get this. We're screwed this. We're screwed that. He found a way to get points. Now it's Leicester. It's away. It's not a huge deal. But like sometimes you have to do that. And sometimes you have to find a way to get a result. And that's what managing is.
That's the job. That is literally the job. And I'm going to do Sam's job for him for a second and transition into the Liverpool Wolves game. But like, there are some pundits and everything who are losing their minds and trying to poke holes at Liverpool Football Club because they fell apart a little bit in the last 10 minutes against a Wolves team who's battling for their relegation lives and happened to come across, a world-class play from Matheus Cunha and, found themselves in a 2-1 dogfight. This is the Premier League, man. Like, I don't understand why, like, all of a sudden every team is expected or the title winning or the title favorite is supposed to have their best football every single game at their disposal. That's not real. That's not real life. And even when City has struggled in the past, they didn't have their best football for the first 75 or 80 minutes of the game, and then they switch it on and they score 2 or 3 goals in stoppage time. Liverpool just happen to usually do it in the reverse, where it's like, this year it's been a lot of, only score 1 or 2 goals, and then you maybe make some mistakes late, and you have to hang on, and you have to rely on your goalkeeper to make a couple of big saves and some heroic defending. That's football. And I've seen so many people and so many articles about Liverpool need to calm down and Rebecca Lowe going on about how Liverpool are floundering a little bit. You just got a home win against a relegation bound side potentially while you're, coming off of an incredible 4-0 performance against Spurs and you're top, towards the top of the Champions League table on a little bit of a break. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's just, you just got to grind games out sometimes, which is the most obvious and cliche thing, but somehow Pep and Manchester City made it impossible for any team to look mortal to be considered good.
Yeah, that's part. I was going to say 2 things here. Number one, pundits and the story writers, they got to talk and they got to write stories, right? Yeah. The content needs to be made. Something's got to be made. Number 2, City, especially later in the season, right about now, for the last however many years, it's just like they became automatic and they became sort of otherworldly. And so now everybody's sort of being compared against that bar, which is ridiculous. But I was going to ask you if you buying into any of this, like Liverpool needs to settle down or something like that.
Yeah, we're in our worst form of the season. We lost an FA Cup game when we played a bunch of children, and we won a Premier League game and beat Spurs 4-0 in the second leg of a semifinal. Yeah, I'm really concerned. Very, very concerned.
You sound concerned. Not really. All right, fair enough. We're not going to talk about the dives. Oh, actually, we'll get to the dives. We'll get to the dives in halftime. So we'll leave that alone for now. FPL. So last week was the week Tommy scored like 700 million points.
If he started Chris Wood, he might have been like number one for the week in FPL.
I know. I had a good week last week.
I mean,
so you
won.
Wait, hold on, Sam.
Row.
Sam, before we go there, I need Tommy to answer this question truthfully. So I said on the pod 2 weeks ago, it was 2 weeks ago, that I think that you only played that triple captain because you just found out what it was and you just had it at your disposal. That you didn't wait for Mohamed Salah to potentially have a double week.
I waited till he had a double week. I've played fantasy prem for the last 5 years, so
but you're full of shit.
I know
you asked what the assistant manager. You asked what the assistant manager was, and the other ones.
No, so okay. This is the thing that was confusing for me about assistant manager. I thought it was like you paid $1.5 million and you kept him for the rest of the year, and it was like another person in your squad, not a chip that you played for only 3 match weeks.
Okay. I'm still confused.
That was what was confusing because none of the other chips actually cost money. You just play them once.
Yeah.
Fair. Well, whatever your rationale was, it worked out quite well, and you scored like 100. And, I don't know. Did you score like 170 or something 2 weeks ago?
But the thing is, other people did it this week now. Like just generally.
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, he didn't put up the numbers that he did in the first game.
Yeah,
right.
Fair.
So the people who waited, they missed out. So right now, because Tommy had 2 weeks, so you won. Well, actually, we still have a game on Wednesday, so there's still going to be points to be scored. Right now, Mikey's still in first with 51 points. He was third highest scorer of the week, but you're still up top. Tommy's in second. I'm in third. FCTT has moved out of the basement. Actually, you've been out of the basement for a while, for a few weeks now. Yep. Mitchell is looking like a TikTok dancer coming up at the end of the season. We'll give a quick shout out to the people up top of the Sam's Army Podcast League. Major League Soccer, the real one, Fraser Connor has moved up top. Connor Lingus, Rob Carey in second. Magnets, Patrick Kelly third. No Hair No Mo, Christopher Frost in fourth. And then Anna Cortes, Luke McCulloch is in fifth now. All right. Now we got a midweek game and then some big midweek and then some big weekend action. So I already talked about how Man City has a midweek game, but actually so does Liverpool. You guys got Aston Villa on Wednesday before the big one on the weekend where Liverpool will be visiting City, I believe. But first on Wednesday, any thoughts on that one, Tyler?
I think it'll be another grind. I think Liverpool are sort of like in this state of just having to like really just fish out some games and fish out some results, regardless of whether they're going against a team that likes to bleed goals like Aston Villa. I just still think that they're going to have a tough time with this game.
Villa have looked very uninspired for about a month here.
Agreed. But everybody comes with their best shot, more or less, against the Kings, and I wouldn't expect anything else.
I thought Dr. Tottenham might have gotten him fixed up nice and
No.
Then they went and drew with Ipswich. So
it's just a long weekend. Spurs is like a Monday off. Like you still have to go back to your job, but it might have been fun for a minute.
That's me.
I like Villa's January transfers simply from looking at the lineup, looking at the field. Like when you have Rashford, Watkins, Asensio up top, it's aesthetically pleasing.
And Malen as well. I mean, they just have a lot of big names. Now, whether they actually work out, TBD on that one. Okay, and then weekend, the biggest one, of course, is going to be City hosting Liverpool on Sunday. There's some other big ones. Newcastle hosting Nottingham Forest also on Sunday. Aston Villa hosting Chelsea, and then Ipswich hosting Dr. Tottenham. I think we really got to. It's tough to talk about a game when there's 2 games in between, and Manchester City and Liverpool both play in the midweek. But the biggest game of the weekend is clearly going to be City Liverpool, and the way the Liverpool's been trending, and everybody's like, "Oh, Manchester City's back." Tyler's not worried. Tyler would only settle for 3 points. Mikey, you asked the question the first time around. What do you think?
I think you'll probably see City with a minus number in front of them this weekend. I don't mean that to say what's going to happen, but I think you'll probably see City favored. I'm going to look at that now, but I would think that City should be expected to, I think, probably win this game.
Even with City going to Real Madrid this weekend?
Let's see what it's posted at.
You want my take on?
Oh, they're both plus money. So City, they're both plus money. The draw, like, there's not a clear cut favorite in it. Plus 170 and plus 130.
I think that's diabolical after one result from City.
I know.
Because if they drew that game, Liverpool would be minus 200 to win the game.
Who's at home?
City.
At City.
Yeah, they're slight dogs, but they're still plus 175. And Liverpool's only plus 130 to win.
What's your take, Tommy?
Well, so I think two things. Madrid's not walking away with it, but they're beating City.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we just talked about with the Villa-Liverpool game, I think that's going to be up and down. Both teams score, and the physical toll of that's going to be much more than a game against Madrid, which is slower. So I think the impact of the midweek game will be heavier for Liverpool. And then come weekend, you're at home. They're probably going to go for it, be a little bit fresher to start. And then you never know. Like that game's still a crapshoot with when those two play. But I think City will have the advantage first. And if they score first, I think they get points.
It should be a good game. Like Liverpool and City, whenever they play.
I think it'll be open. I actually think this will be one of those ones that everybody's like, oh man, we could have this every year. Fucking Arsenal wasn't involved.
I was gonna say Arsenal fans are gonna get butthurt about that, which I like. I like that. Okay, it'll be interesting to see how those midweek games play out, especially if City do lose or draw and get bounced from Champions League. Other games. So outside of that one, we got Newcastle Forest. You got Villa, Chelsea, Ipswich, and Tottenham. I don't know what other games. I don't know what Arsenal have this weekend. You guys got West. Oh, it's
Newcastle Forest. Newcastle Forest is a good one.
Yeah, Newcastle coming off the heavy loss to City. Now Nottingham Forest. Well, we've already talked about whether they're legit or not, and I think they are. That's going to be a tough game for Newcastle. I feel like, yeah. I hate to say it, but I think my money might be on Nottingham Forest in that one.
No, I don't think so. That's just me.
Plus 330. You can get Nottingham Forest for plus 330 in that game.
Both teams need a bounce back result, and I think Newcastle is going to get right.
Nottingham Forest / draw might be the way to, if you really want to get some decent odds.
Bournemouth are going to be in a Champions League spot by the end. I
love that bet. Oh, I thought you were saying by the end of the year. I
also like the. I mean, I like the bet in general.
Yeah, I would pay a lot of money just to guarantee that they would play Champions League next year. I would love to see that.
They get decimated in the transfer window in the summer.
No, no. People would stay if they're playing Champions League,
and they'd have a little more cash to spend.
I mean, that's the.
But seriously,
optimistic.
Who's leaving that team?
Semenya.
If I'm Bournemouth, I go and buy Anthony. If you make Champions League
this summer.
I mean, Anthony, I know we don't really talk about La Liga that much, but he's been dominating.
The goal he scored over the weekend was incredible. Yes, so good.
Amazing. He's out of the club. He's just 3 goals in 4 games, 3 man of the matches, multiple assists. I mean, that's a crazy.
Scott McTominay and Lukaku are gonna win a title.
It's a crazy glow up. All right. Any other games? I mean, Manchester. Let's see. I mean, not Manchester. Aston Villa, Chelsea, Ipswich, Tottenham.
Yeah, I think Fulham could smoke Palace.
You think Palace are cooked?
I think it could be 4.
Wow.
So Palace were awful.
Where's the game?
Then they see it's at Fulham, and then they seemingly turned it around more recently. They're up to 13th now on 30 points. They're almost at that sort of we're safe. A couple more wins and they are safe.
They're safe.
I think that was an anomaly against Everton.
Think so?
Yeah.
So you're saying they're not cooked?
Yeah. I think that they've been playing better football. They did this last year too. This is right around the time they started to flip the switch.
All right, we'll move on. Hopefully Tottenham are getting healthy, and we will start to see a little bit better and more consistency from us. I guess we'll find out this weekend. Ipswich has already done the business on us once. All right, we'll move to halftime, or before we get to the weekly what if, it's time to promote our friends at Arc Designs. Tyler, what do you got for us?
Of course, our great partners at Arc Designs who have been sponsoring halftime for the past several weeks. Just a quick reminder to everybody to make sure you get your order in now. Arc Designs are a family-owned company in Cincinnati. They do amazing work. A lot of the work is done by an engineer, and he does 3D laser engraving coasters, and he can basically make any stadium that you want into a coaster, sort of like a bird's eye view of the blueprint layout of the stadium. It has your club's name or whatever. If you don't see the club on their website, again, artdesigns.com, then there's a function on the website where you can toggle it and put in a custom-made stadium. So let's say, for instance, they don't have the Bernabeu up on the website. You can basically plug it in and say, I want Real Madrid, the Bernabeu, and then they will make it for you. It might take a little bit longer, but the customer service is outstanding. We already have multiple reviews coming back and saying that they are on point and they get the deliveries out incredibly quick, especially for some of the stadiums that they don't have on there. Use code SAM25. SAM25, sound familiar? Same one for Kick It. And you're going to be able to get a 10% discount off of your entire order. And remember that this is not a deal that's going to last forever. The same goes for Kick It. So make sure you get in there, you support the business, both Kick It and Arc Designs, and you're supporting Sam's Army as well. But this is an awesome company that is family owned, and we love that. And they do a bunch of other stadiums, NCAA football, basketball, NBA, NFL. I have 5 coasters at home. They make tables of the same thing. It's really high quality stuff. It's really cool. And get it at arcdesigns.com and use code SAM25 for a little discount.
Well done. Shout out to our people over at Arc Designs. All right, weekly what if time. So this is actually spawned from the Discord channel. If you're not on Sam's Army Patreon, you need to get on there. Not only do you got your Tommy Talking Tactic blogs, but you also got the Discord and bonus episodes. But the Discord is, the chat's going 24/7. So if you want some new soccer friends, hop on Sam's Army Patreon to get on the Sam's Army Discord. Now one of the things that we were talking about on the Sam's Army Discord, and I believe it was immediately sort of immediately after the Liverpool game, where some people thought that Diogo Jota may have dove multiple times, one of which got overturned on VAR and one of which I think got through. So people basically were asking, what can we do to sort of stamp diving out of the game? So if you were rules lord of the FIFA for a day or for eternity, and you were tasked with doing something to get less diving, to minimize the amount of diving, what would you do, Mikey?
This one's hard because there's players that I love that have been accused of it. There's players that I hate that have been accused of it. Almost always what the case is when you see contact, any contact at all, you can justify the movement down, even if it's not like the Jota one that I'm sure sparked this. There is physically contact somewhere between the bodies. So in my opinion, the only way that you could do this is to make dive yellow reviewable, but it's yellow. I don't think that we're sending off. I don't think we're banning. There could be the NBA does a retroactive ban for frequent offenders. So if somebody is adjudged you to have dove 3 times, even if not caught in game, then there's something punishment wise. But the only realistic way I want this to be handled is yellow on field, if anything. I don't like more involvement. So it's a hard one.
It is a hard one. This discussion is constant in the soccer chat, but we have retrospective punishment in the Premier League, right? They can go back
I
and
haven't seen it.
I think they can. I think they implemented it just a couple years ago, where you can go back and issue.
I mean, I think it technically exists, but with VAR being able to review almost everything, to retroactively have that and say that means that not only did your on-field referee and their assistants and the fourth official miss it, but that your VAR people that you're paying every single game also missed it. So I feel like they also try to stay away from doing it retroactively because that just is a huge black mark on the refereeing crew for the game.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, so it was introduced in 2017. Obviously, VAR has come in since that, so that makes sense. Now, some of the suggestions that we got on the Discord, let's see, Cbro7, my spicy suggestion on reforming penalties, in addition to the relatively mild requirement that they be taken by the person fouled, is that they are taken from the spot of the foul. That's an interesting one. If the punishment matched the crime a little better, I think you'd see fewer players get just inside the box on the touchline and immediately get hit by a sniper rifle.
Diaz's XG on penalties would be like 0.1. He's always going away from goal when he wins them.
Kane did that a lot too.
Yeah. By the way, the first one is a penalty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No question.
Like, the first one is 100% a penalty, number one. Number two, what about a 3 to 5 minute penalty box scenario?
I like that.
I've always hated that.
Well, Mikey, I don't know if you know this because you were a year late figuring out that MLS was doing best out of 3 series in the playoffs, but that exists in MLS for the time substitution rule. Yeah. So if
Wait, you said what?
Did you not know this either, Tommy?
Time substitution rule?
Yeah.
Like if you take too long?
So if you take more than 10 seconds to exit the field, and obviously you can leave at any point.
You have to
the
sit
player
out.
coming on has to wait 60 seconds to come onto the field.
Oh, I didn't know that bit. That's
it.
crazy.
It's crazy. I love it.
It takes more than 10 seconds to get off the field.
You should be able, wherever you are on the field, you should be able to get off in 10 seconds at any exit point.
Has that ever actually been applied?
Yes, to Messi and Suarez.
Right, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
When does that clock start?
It starts as soon as the
as you start moving.
Fourth official puts up the board.
Tommy hates it.
Well, Dude, it takes me full speed 10 seconds to get off.
Right. This is dark arts. They're coming after my dark arts here.
MLS should just go full NCAA soccer and count down. Who cares?
You know something? At least, there's a lot of things I don't like about my employer. At least they're trying to punish people who are trying to influence the game in a negative way, i.e. diving. So if you're diving and you're trying to bait the referee into a game-changing call, your team should be at a disadvantage because you're putting the integrity of the game at a disadvantage.
Sure.
I 100% agree with you. So why did they choose to intervene at the time that it takes someone to walk off the field? Just add the time on to the end of the game. Just if he takes 30 seconds to walk off the field, just add 30 more seconds at the end of the game.
I think it's not just the time itself, but it's sort of like, let's get on with it and the rhythm of the game and the whole thing, because it's also the same for players who go down. And it's completely changed the end of games and people time wasting with players not going down because you have to sit out for 2 minutes if the medical staff comes onto the field.
That one I'm fine with.
I like both of them.
I like both of them too.
The sub one is beyond me. The medical one, I'm
well,
okay with.
I don't understand why you're so upset about it.
Because he knows they're coming after him.
No,
it's
because
so
the game
easy to get off the field in 10 seconds.
The game is stopping anyway.
Let's keep it stopped for as little as possible, though.
Yeah,
but like,
this is personal. You can tell, Tommy. They're like coming after him.
For me, the thing that would solve this better is if the person doesn't walk off to the nearest sideline exit, it's a yellow card. Right away.
Which is what the Premier League does.
Yes.
Right now.
The 10-second run off the 60-second thing, I'm just not a fan of.
Neither were Messi and Suarez, for what it's worth.
Yeah. It's like,
I've seen those Suarez videos. I'm not sure he could get off the field in any direction from the center circle in 10 seconds.
Yes. And that's where he's
By the way, MLS is also changing the rule this year, and this isn't as significant, but while we're on the topic, with regard to handballs. So
no.
the only way no, it's not that bad. The only way you can get a card for a handball is if it's intentional to prevent a goal.
I like that.
So the only when we were in our session with Pro, the only example that they had was Suarez batting the ball off the line in 2000. That was the only example that they've had in the last 20 years. So they threw that up. But that's the only. So no yellow card can be there's no scenario really in which you can get a yellow card for a handball.
That's interesting.
Which I don't mind, because they're basically saying unless it's an intentional handball, it's just simply it's making your body bigger. You're not trying to hit the ball with your hand, but that type of thing.
I mean, there was a perfectly good example in the 2024 World Cup where Messi intentionally grabbed the ball, but he didn't get the yellow card, which he was already on a yellow in the knockouts. Let's see. Another hot take is that all penalties should also result in a card for the defensive player. No more PKs simply because it's a foul in the box. Oh, so I think what they're saying, Matt Wolf wrote this. He said, if you're just a normal foul in the box is not an automatic penalty. Now, if it's a card-worthy tackle, a card-worthy challenge, then it would be a penalty. The problem with all of them, is that they're all subjective. We're adding more subjectivity to the game. And this is one of those things that makes soccer beautiful and maddening, is this type of decision. So I like the conversation. I don't think there's any way to legislate a little bit of, subjectivity out of this.
They still give yellow cards for diving, though.
Which I'm totally fine with. Continue that.
I don't know if I've ever seen a player get a second yellow for diving.
I definitely have. It's happened many times.
Has it?
Yes.
An Arsenal player's been sent off for that.
You're saying 2 yellows for diving, or
Not
just
kidding.
the second one for yellow?
No, the second one for diving, where they've already gotten something for it.
Oh, yes. That has happened many times.
Maybe I just haven't seen it. I don't know.
Oh, no. Havertz got away with one against Brentford last March.
I'll figure out.
I remembered that.
James Ward-Prowse looks like was one.
Walmart Plus. It's Walmart Plus and included.
Who's watching?
Walmart is not an official sponsor.
Not
of
a
Sam's Army.
sponsor.
Jesus, I was trying to read a story and we got a Walmart ad. My God. I'll figure that out later.
We've spent too much time on the refereeing union.
Yeah, we're moving on. We're moving on to round the world. So USL is making moves. They announced officially, and this has sort of been in the works for a little while. They've been talking about, USL, maybe getting some pro rel, maybe coming at MLS. They are coming for MLS. MLS's ass is in the jackpot. They are officially announcing plans to start a Division 1 tier. So USL Championship, which is right now the highest tier of USL, is the second division, while MLS is the top division. So what USL is essentially saying they're going to do in 2027, I believe, they're going to have a Division 1. And there are certain rules and restrictions about the size of stadiums and all this stuff that you got to have to be in that division. So there's things that need to be worked out here. But just the thought of it is pretty cool, and obviously got people excited, got people talking, which is always good. They also are dangling the carrot of promotion and relegation between the different tiers of USL. So, this is inevitably going to be a big talking point. Tyler, I got to go to you first because you know a lot about this. What are your thoughts? Is this realistic?
Yeah, I think it's realistic. You're going to need a lot of billionaires to follow through and to make this work, though. The good news is that we're seeing a lot of American businessmen and women who are eager to get involved and who have already put money towards clubs abroad. I think most of them enjoy the concept of buying low and selling high. So I think what you would see initially is a lot of owners wanting to buy into a USL League One or Championship side and work their way up, as opposed to pay what I would only imagine to be a pretty hefty expansion fee right off the bat, a la MLS. Is it going to be 450 million or 500 million? Probably not, because I'm sure USL wants to do it differently than MLS. And MLS continuously doing that is continuously prohibiting us from getting to a world in which we can have pro rel. But I like this idea, and what I ultimately think it's going to do is that the Papadakis, basically the Papadakis, I've just put a plural on them, sort of like the
I love
cacti.
it.
They're the family that owns the USL. I think that they'll have an end goal to merge or sell to MLS and make out like bandits. If this is done appropriately and you can get 12 to 14 legitimate teams who will have to have a stadium that can seat at least 15,000, meet broadcast regulations, in addition to prove that you're going to be able to run your club financially for a bare minimum of 5 years. If you can get all of that, and there's plenty of room in the market in the United States for it. I mean, the Southwest region alone, basically from Houston to San Diego, is non-existent. You can get 5 teams in that region alone. If you can figure that out, what I believe will happen is you will force MLS to expedite their conversations on pro rel by probably 30 years, which is a good thing. Because if it turns out that the relegation battle in USL Division 1 in the year 2031 of our Lord and Savior, if that ends up happening and the game gets better views and gets more viewership than the MLS Cup, MLS will have to completely rethink the model. And not for nothing, but I've been banging on this drum for a while now, is that all of these owners who are worried about their investment and worried about the expansion fee that they paid, sure, you'll drop out and you'll lose TV money and the whole thing, and it'll be a problem if you get relegated. But the long-term investment of having the opportunity to sell tickets and that games will constantly matter, as opposed to being the Chicago Fire and knowing that you're out of a playoff race in September and still have to convince people to come out to Soldier Field 5 or 6 more times, that's better than the alternative. And it always will be. Jeopardy creates emotion, which creates affect, which creates buy-in. So that's just how I feel about the whole thing.
Okay, that's good. That makes a lot of sense to me. Tommy or Mikey, anything to add here?
No, not much.
No.
By the way, Tottenham's Yves Bissouma got sent off for a second yellow, which was diving. As did James Madison.
He was that far into the penalty area. What was he doing there?
I don't know. It was second yellow for simulation, just like 2 minutes after his first booking. Apparently, James Madison did as well, but he was with Leicester at the time. So it's a bit of a Tottenham issue here. Well, anyway, back to USL. It's exciting. It's very exciting news for the casual fan, for the neutral fan.
Such a long way to go. Such a long way to go.
There are a lot of boxes. There's just a lot of uncertainty about how this would come to pass. And as Tyler said, money makes the world go round. You need some big money backers of this to get involved. Hopefully we can do it. I love that USL's, making moves. It's good to see. All right, Champions League. We got a second round now of the playoff to get to the knockouts. So we got the second round of games coming up this week. A lot of close games. I think most of them. So 6 out of the 8 are 1-goal games at this point. The only ones that are sort of blowouts, relatively speaking, are Dortmund's up 3-0 on Sporting Lisbon and PSG are up 3-0 on Brest. So, which of the games, Tommy, are you most excited to watch?
I'd go. I think there's more exciting ones tomorrow. On that slate, I would want to see Bayern Munich Celtic be fun. I'm skeptical on that, but I would go with Milan Feyenoord and Atalanta Bruges. The team that's home is a 1-goal down. I think that could be fun.
Yeah. Mikey, which game you got?
Monaco having to go for it in Portugal. I actually, Tommy, I understand what you're saying, but I'm terrified of away teams mucking things up with 1-goal leads. Give me a home team who has to try to protect and put their pride in the line. There's going to be a lot of guys who think they should be going to the corner flag that are going to want to go score the ball. Mistakes happen when a team at home is 1-0 up. So I like Monaco. I'm also really interested in former Arsenal project, Mika Barrett, who cannot stop scoring there. There's no harder place to do it than away to Portugal in Europe. So I'm actually excited to see those guys.
Nobody keeps tabs on former academy projects quite like Mikey Fowler.
He's a baller.
He's going off right now, so it's not even like a hidden gem.
Not a deep cut, no. And they're tweeting like our Hale End guy while we're playing Mikel Merino up top.
Tyler, you gonna go City? Nobody said City Real Madrid. I guess just because everybody's already knows about that and is thinking about it.
That will be on the big screen, but like I kind of agree with Tommy. Like I sort of a foregone conclusion that Madrid are going to come away with that. I mean, is there really any scenario that this City team is going to be the one to beat Madrid at the Bernabeu and give them an early exit? Like I don't see it.
Side note, Sam. One thing, obviously, the Real Madrid City game. If Sporting score early in Germany, those fans hate that team right now. That could get really, really fun.
You've been following the Dortmund saga for quite some time. The fact they came away 3-0 winners last week in Portugal, I mean, that was pretty crazy. It would be interesting if Sporting gets the first one, let alone 2 goals, to see what happens.
I really want one in like the first 10.
that would appointment television. All right, we will move on, put a bow on this episode. Stoppage time. Ivan Toney's best bets is where we start. Got the hat. Overtrain is cooking, boys and girls. We had a tough start to the week on Wednesday. Lost my Asian Champions League game, but from there, it was all on the up and up. Every game from then on, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, went over 3.5, which is always great to see because I typically tend to ladder bet these. But here we go. We're gonna keep on keeping on, and we're starting on Wednesday, where I think Real Madrid and City is going to go over in Champions League. Thursday, I'm staying in Champions League, but we're going to Asia, where Lion City Sailors are hosting Muang Thong United. Of course, everybody's favorite Muang Thong. Then we got Friday, Bundesliga 2, Hamburg hosting Kaiserslautern. Saturday, my favorite A-League, Perth Glory hosting Sydney FC. And then Sunday, we're going to Ligue 1. Haven't had a lot of French games in the overs, but I'm throwing Lyon hosting PSG on Sunday in there because I see a lot of goals in that one. All right, Mikey, what do you got for us?
Home team trailing 1-0 is shots on target central. I want to give a quick shout out to somebody, to Johnny Reinders, who I've been betting on for months. I did the math today because as I was looking to bet tomorrow, I was like, I feel like I bet on him every other day. That's correct. He started 10 matches in the last 29 days, played 90 minutes in 8 of them. 2 shots on target for him is plus 260 in this game tomorrow. I'm not going to give out Christoph Solis because that was the worst beat of all time. And if you're in the Discord, you understand the pain with Julio Enciso on the weekend. I'm going to take Tijani Reinders 2+ shots on target and put that with Mika Barrett anytime goal scorer plus 210, and you are looking at plus 260 and plus 210. I'm not going to do the math off the top of my head. I might actually put it in here, but that's a pretty good payout for tomorrow.
Decent. Okay. All right, Tommy, what are you looking at?
I'm going Thursday Europa League overs. So the first one is, where is it? Galatasaray is home to Alkmaar, and they're down 4-1. And then I'm going to go Roma Porto. That's 1-1 at Roma. For some reason, I think that's just going to be up and down. Both teams think they can win.
That should be a fun one. And Roma, Galatasaray, Alkmaar, the reverse fixture in the first leg, I had the over last time, so I'll definitely sprinkle a little bit on that one this time around. So I like your calls. On that. Tyler?
All right, so Champions League, we got 1 shot on target for Rafa Leao. We've got Harry Kane, anytime goal scorer. We've got the Ketelaar, anytime goal scorer, and Vinny, anytime goal scorer for a cozy little plus 1177. $5 to win 63.
Nice.
He's back. Tyler's long shot play of the week. I love this. All right. And by the way, if you're not on the Discord, get on the Discord. The best bets segment or section of the Discord is always popping.
I promise
Everybody
to be profitable this week.
Mikey is usually leading the conversation with
He said
several other.
He said the same thing to his girlfriend last week too.
I'm gonna win.
All right, we're moving on. We are at everybody's favorite segment of the episode, of every episode. GOAWs time. Who wants to go first? Tommy and Tyler both with their hands up at the exact same time.
Go with
Tommy. I'll go with you. I don't know why.
So mine is, of course, with this cast right here about hair and the follically challenged. So
That hurts.
yesterday morning, I decided to flip on the North London derby between Arsenal and Spurs, women's. Arsenal put on a show, and there is I think fullback or winger
Oh man.
for Spurs.
Oh no.
I think her last name is Neville, and her hair is. I was convinced it was a wig, and then you just see everyone talk about it today because she did an interview after the game. I cannot believe that there's no chance that is real hair. It just seems like a wig. It's so outrageous. But
Ashley Neville is her name.
Yeah, and it's like it's been all over social media this like past 24, 36 hours, but it is darker than Mikel Arteta's hair.
Oh my god!
And is just slightly more well combed than Mikel Arteta's hair.
Yeah, that is a hell of a do. Wow.
I mean, it
could be real.
Like,
maybe.
I'm just jealous. Like I'm not even like dumbfounded or anything. Like I just wish that I had half of that.
I thought I brought this to the right crew.
You know something, guy? Like I don't know if you're allowed to say stuff like that. Like me, Mikey, or Sam should have been able to say something like that.
Why do you think I got a hat on right now? It's a good shot though. That is a hell of a head of hair right there. We won the hair game. We lost the game. We won the hair game. Tyler, who you got?
Well, I forget exactly who it was in the Discord who already ruined it, but for those of you who are not in the Discord, and I don't know why you would be, because you can get things like people ruining GOAWs. Oh, it's JFert16. Knows ball, but ruining GOAWs for me. We had a young man who plays for the Wigan U18s who scored the first goal at the new stadium for Everton. And he's a lifelong Liverpool fan, my man. So what does he do when he scores the first goal ever at this stadium? He holds up 6 for the amount of times that Liverpool have been European champions. So this young man is the GOA to end all GOAs. What an absolute shout. Also, while we're speaking about celebrations, honorary mention, James Maddison with just basically a straight shot call out of Roy Keane after he scored his goal. The type of goal, I guess that doesn't totally matter when it comes to his celebration and wanting to, chat shit and get banged type deal. But like, I just find it interesting that they're really paying attention that hard, and that Roy Keane went that hard after James Maddison, after he clearly has been battling injuries all season. And then he got the opportunity to sort of put that to bed, at least for now. But I sort of was on Roy Keane's side. I was like, where has James Maddison gone? Because he used to be a really good soccer player.
He's been injured. I
know.
I love the move by him. It does seem like maybe don't get so worked up about what talking heads have to say, but it is what it is.
Especially some retired guy who spends more time at the pub than he does actually recording anything. Like,
but then again, listen, James Maddison likes to get in, get after it on the troll level. Mikey, who you got?
Yeah. I want to tell you a little story about the championship top and the championship bottom. My GOA this week is Pascal Struijk and Leeds United for today. 2 goals, 2 late goals to take all 3 points against 4th place Sunderland. Burnley's kept 11 clean sheets in a row and dropping points outside of the automatic promotion places. Leeds United is playing this helter-skelter style, and they are now minus 3,000 to go up. huge favorites. And what I want to tell you the story of is Luton Town, who were 6 points from safety last year against none other than Nottingham Forest, and now find themselves rooted at the bottom of the championship with the odds on relegation. They were 6 points off survival. Forest now in the Champions League places, and Luton looking like it's going down to League One. It's unbelievable the decisions and the impact that some of these moments have, and for an entire fan base and club like Luton, and for a city like for a Nottingham Forest team. Just an unbelievable story. The championship is filled with it. If you're not paying attention, pay attention this year. But Pascal Struijk is my GOAW this week for what he did a couple hours ago against Sunderland.
That's fair. That's fair. I was really torn on that game because I want Leeds to go up, but I also want Sunderland to go up. So a draw wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world, but it was a good game.
It was unbelievable.
And championship, there's just so much going on in the champion. I mean, first of all, you have 24 teams, so there's more. There's just more going on, and the amount of money, the differential between being in the championship and the Premier League is just so insane that it leads to some craziness, including Luton now being at the bottom of the table. I'm actually got my GOAW is from the championship as well. His name is Adam Forshaw. So if you don't know Adam Forshaw, he was a player for the Liverpool Giant Killers, Plymouth Argyle. On January 11th, he got his contract terminated by said Liverpool Giant Killers. That was on January 11th. Then February 15th, just this weekend, he scored for Blackburn against Plymouth Argyle. So a month later, after getting essentially cut, he scored for Blackburn. His celebration was amazing. He ran from the goal directly over to...
Surely he did something. He didn't just get cut. What did he do?
Well, I don't know. His contract was terminated. That's all I saw. Well, now, why that is, that's a good question. I have to do a little background research here. But for now, he's the protagonist of this story. Maybe he is the antagonist. But for right now, he's the protagonist. He ran from the goal mouth directly to Plymouth Argyle's bench and just did this right in front of the coach. Just right in his face. Just an incredible troll job. Turns out that was Adam Forshaw's first goal in 9 years. He scored first goal in 9 years.
That's why his contract was terminated.
Maybe, yeah, that might explain it right there. And just an incredible, that's like Neil Maupay level of trolling there. And by the way, Plymouth Argyle, the Liverpool Giant Killers, 23rd in the championship right now, whereas Blackburn is 5th.
Say Liverpool Giant Killers one more time. One more time.
They did what Tottenham couldn't do. They did what Tottenham couldn't do.
Tommy, on the subject, what's your most diabolical celebration towards another team?
I don't score enough for that.
But surely in college, if there was a team that pissed you off or something, and you had a penalty or something.
Dude, I've never been a scorer.
Just give me something here.
Never.
There was a state cup game. Okay, like give me something.
Dude, two things. One, for the third time, I've never been a scorer, and then two, I have respect. So.
Okay. All right. Let me talk to somebody who's more my speed, Mikey.
If I scored for the first time in 9 years against the team that had cut me, I think I would have. It would have been crazy for sure. I think running in front of the opposing bench is the least of your problem. I'd try to shake the hand of the manager maybe and just be like, "Thank you for the opportunity to do this."
Especially since he traded up from the 23rd ranked team to the 5th place team, and he may go up to the Premier League this year.
I would say thank you. I would try to get a handshake.
Shout out Adam Forshaw. And while we're sending shout outs quickly, good friend of the program, James Sands. He just transferred to Germany, and he just came.
By the way, what a strange injury to tear your MCL and break your fib all in one fall. Like, I don't even know how that happens.
Terrible, just terrible. Hopefully, speedy and full recovery as soon as possible. I know he was, excited to get over to St. Pauli, and just this is what he's played 3 games maybe,
and he was starting. He was starting too.
Yeah, it just sucks. Just a terrible timing. So shout out to him, speedy and full recovery to James Sands. And that's all we got, guys. Tyler, Tommy, Mikey, you guys are the best. Everybody who was in the chat and listening, I love you all. And we will be back next week. Bigger, better, faster, stronger. Cheers, guys. By the way, Tyler, I couldn't tell